We'll call the regular Board of Education meeting to order and have roll call, please.
Dyke,
Here.
Walker,
Here.
Frisbee,
Here.
Maycumber, Winterick,
Here.
Connect.
Here.
And the reading of the district mission statement by Director Frisbee.
Our mission is to engage, inspire, and empower students and staff in order to maximize learning.
Thank you. Agenda item 3, the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections?
None.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Roll call vote, please.
Frisbee,
Yes.
Maycumber. Yes. Winterick,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes, motion carried 5-0. Agenda item 4, welcome the visitors and have public comment. Is there anyone who would like to make public comment at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 5, comments by board members and superintendent, and we'll begin with Dr. Cox this evening.
Thank you. Last Thursday, we had the privilege of hosting a town hall. Senator Joni Ernst was here, had a town hall meeting in Floyd County, and it went really well. We appreciated being a host site for her. I want to congratulate our homecoming king and queen, Theo and Peyton, and our Comet Hall of Fame inductees. Had a really great week last week. And finally, a reminder to parents that on Friday, October 6th, there is no school. It's Professional Learning Day.
Thank you. Any board members have any comments this evening?
Yes, I do.
Lorraine?
As you know, this is Jim and I, our last meeting, and just wanted to say this has been 6 years coming to an end here, and it's been a great run. We started off, some of us, as adversaries, as you remember.
No.
But, I remember that meeting 4 years ago. Was that 4 years ago?
Yep.
Yeah, that was 4 years ago. And, oh my goodness, there were steak dinners and $100 bets on my head to quit the board, but I stuck it out, and look what happened. We became such a good team. We did so much good together. We've accomplished so much together. So, it's with that I'm a little mixed about my departure here, but I wanted to tell you that, I think that our new board members that are coming on board are really going to energize, can you hear me? Because it doesn't sound like this is working. Really energize our board with young children in their homes. I think it's going to bring a different focus. Not that we haven't been focused on those kids, but I think it's going to be a good thing for the team here. And, with their interest, it's time to leave. I think your conversation is really going to be energized as you move forward, and I know you guys are going to teach them the culture that is Charles City Board of Education. So I still have things on my to-do list, because we've had a to-do list, and so I wanted to pass on this to-do list and get it on the radar for our new board members. And here's some of the things I would, if I was still staying on the board, I would like to work on. And that is, and you know these things, these are no surprises. Utilize the walking track for students during school hours between classes, because we have learned that movement and exercise will light up the kids' brains. And I know we have plans to incorporate that into the high school remodel. Finish the rooftop garden, get that done. Incorporate the farm to school component that Taher has told us they could do in their program. That rooftop garden will tie in well. Furnish the media center deck. Remodel the high school, which we've definitely been talking about that. Fundraise for the athletic complex. And then finally, that I'm always somebody who likes to cheer for those who need it the most. Excuse me, I have a nasty cold. And that is, keep an eye on the Carrie Lane program. Those are the kids who are most at risk, and are also the kids that are going to stay here in the community. Some of our other students, they go on and do other things elsewhere. So keep an eye on that program. And finally, it's just been an honor to be part of the team.
You forgot, though, the sliders on the chairs and corsages at grand opening.
And flashes.
Corsages for grand opening.
Yeah, and there was something else I forgot here. Oh, I know, the block learning, you know, at the elementary level, I don't know if that's what you call it, but for reading and math.
And the arrangement of the tables and chairs in the commons.
That's right,
There's several other things that need to be finished and accomplished, yes?
you guys.
We know where you're at. We know what, you're good. Thanks, Lorraine. It's
I
been,
didn't
you.
expect to be tearful.
it's fine. Any other board
Okay.
members this evening?
Jim?
What's that? Yeah, I'd like to say that it's been a challenging, the last 4 years been, which I knew that when we were elected, it was going to be a challenging 4 years ahead of us, and it has been. But we've accomplished a lot of the challenges that were on our challenge list. We've accomplished them, and we've got a lot of challenges ahead of us yet. So I'm looking forward and wishing the new board well to make as much gain as we did the last 4 years. If they can make that much gain the next 4 years on the challenges that are facing them, it'll be fantastic. So, but
Absolutely.
I'm not going to cry.
No ugly cry.
Thank you. Any other comments this evening? Hearing none, we'll go to old business and retiring of the board. Agenda item 6, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on September 11th, 2017.
Motion to approve the minutes of the September 11th board meeting as presented.
I'll second them.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Roll call vote.
Maycumber?
Yes.
Winnering?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Frisbee?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes, motion carried 5-0. Agenda item 7, the canvass of the elections. Terry, do you want to handle this? Did you receive it, or did Dr. Cox?
Well, I received it from the auditor.
Okay,
Yes,
so we'll
we
let
re-
you handle that.
We received the canvas, the abstract, and from the election held on September 12th, for 4-year terms was elected Scott Dyke, 161 votes, Missy Frond, 212 votes, Joshua Mack, 214 votes, and write-in votes of 28.
Is there a motion to approve the abstract of votes as presented?
I move to approve the abstract of votes as presented.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the abstract of votes. Roll call vote.
Winnering?
Yes.
Walker?
Yes.
Frisbee?
Yes.
Maycumber?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes, motion carried 5-0. Agenda item 8, to adjourn the retiring board. Would you like to read this
Yeah, I would. Thank you.
resolution? Thank you.
Whereas, public schools are being held to higher standards of accountability than ever before at both state and federal levels. And whereas school boards work diligently to ensure our young people are educated and prepared for college, careers, and citizenship. And whereas the men and women elected to school board positions deserve recognition and thanks for their countless hours of volunteer service to public education. And whereas James Frisbee and Lorraine Winterink have faithfully served the students and citizens of the Charles City Community School District for 4 and 6 years respectively, be it therefore resolved that the residents of the Charles City Community School District acknowledge the contributions made by these board members and declare their appreciation and gratitude for such service. A round of applause for our departing board members.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion to approve the resolution.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the resolution. Roll call vote.
Walker?
Yes.
Frisbee?
Yes.
Maycumber?
Yes.
Winnering?
Yes.
Dyke?
Yes, motion carried 5-0. The board is adjourned.
All right, I will call this meeting back to order. Would the secretary please take the roll?
Dyke?
Here.
Freund?
Here.
Mack?
Here.
Maycumber?
Here?
Winnering? Walker?
Here. Wrong board.
Connect?
Thank you. At this time, we will have the board secretary administer the oath of office to our three newly elected board members.
Yep.
Can we,
I'll
Just sit.
come over here and maybe, or maybe I'll come go in front.
just go in front.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, just discharge the duties of the office of board member in the Charles City Community School District as now or hereafter required by law? If so, say I do.
I
I
do.
do.
At this point, I will open the floor for nominations for the position of board president for 2017-18.
After 3 years as president, I think it's time to pass the torch, and I will nominate Jason Walker.
Jason Walker has been nominated. Are there additional nominations for the office of president? I'll ask 2 more times. Are there additional nominations for the office of president? Are there additional nominations for the office of president? Hearing none, nominations will cease. And given the fact that we have 1 nominee, we will acclaim him our board president for 2017-18. So by vote of acclamation, and you can all respond yes.
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 All right, Jason will serve as our board president, so. Mr. Walker, I invite you to the president's seat.
We'll hold on for just a second.
Okay?
Yep. I'll call for nomination of board vice president this time.
I'd like to nominate,
We need to give the oath of office to Jason first, probably.
Yep.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of board president in the Charles City Community School District as now or hereafter required by law? If so, say I do.
I do. Now we will call for nominations of board vice president.
I'd like to nominate Scott Dyke for vice president.
Hearing no more nominations,
I-
you have to call twice.
Yeah, what, 3 times,
3 times.
according to Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay. Are there any more nominations for the position of vice president? Are there any more nominations for position of vice president? And are there any more nominations for position of vice president? Hearing none, we will cease nominations. And we need a oral vote.
You may announce him elected by acclamation.
We will announce that Scott will serve as vice president for the coming year. And, all right, congratulations.
Oath. Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of Board Vice President in the Charles City Community School District as now or hereafter required by law? If so, say I do.
I do.
This time we'll declare a short recess so we can reposition the seating arrangements. Okay, we will reconvene at 6:47. Moving on, item 13, appointment of district secretary and treasurer for the 2017-18 school year. Calendar year, excuse me.
I move to appoint Terry O'Brien as the district secretary treasurer for 17-18.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to appoint Terry O'Brien as the district secretary and treasurer for the calendar year 27-18. May I roll call vote, please?
Freund,
Yes.
Maycumber,
Yes.
Mack,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. We'll move on to agenda item 14, appointment of legal counsel for,
Give her the oath.
oh,
She has an oath for you.
she has an oath for that office. Oh, it does say that, doesn't it? You solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Iowa, and that you will faithfully and impartially, to the best of your ability, discharge the duties of the office of Secretary and Treasurer, Board Secretary and Treasurer in the Charles City Community School District as now or hereafter required by law. If so, say I do.
I do.
So now we will move to 14 for appointment of legal counsel for 2017 and 18.
I'll make
Recommenda- Go
I'll
ahead.
make a motion that the board appoint James Hank from Ayers and Cooney as legal counsel for 2017-18.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second to appoint James Hanks as legal counsel for 2017-18. Roll call vote, please.
Maycumber,
Yes.
Mack,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Freund. Yes. Dyke.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 15 is naming of the district official publication. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the Charles City Press as the district's official publication.
Second.
Motion and second to name the Charles City Press as the district's official publication. Roll call vote, please.
Mack,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Freund. Yes. Maycumber,
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Moving on to agenda item 16, review of the policy 210.2 for the regular meetings.
So this will be the time for the board members to discuss whether they want to keep board meetings at 6:30 or move them to a different time. It also would be the opportunity for you to decide if you want to continue having 2 regular meetings or have fewer or more. Recommendation of the superintendent is to set the regular meetings at 5:30 PM on the second and fourth Mondays of the month.
Discussion? Preferences?
Seems awful early, but depends.
Ra-
6.
And I'll share the rationale. There are oftentimes events, concerts primarily, but there are some other sporting events that end up being scheduled on Mondays due to lack of available dates. So when the board meeting starts at 6:30, it makes it impossible for you to attend a board meeting and a concert or board meeting and a basketball game, for example. Moving it to 5:30 at least would make it feasible for you to get to both events. And it makes it feasible for the public and for administration as well.
Unless it infringes on employment.
Right, if it doesn't work with your employment schedules, then obviously we can't do that. And so that, annually, this is our opportunity to talk about, when is it convenient for you to meet as a board?
I'm in favor of moving it up, whether that's 5:30 or 6, that's completely fine with me. I'm pretty flexible either way. But I do agree getting done earlier in the night, and we haven't had long meetings for the last 6 months or so, but, there will come a time that we probably will again, and that every minute that starts earlier, the better for getting home earlier, so.
Have we received any feedback that 5:30 would be too early to meet?
The board used to meet at 5:30, and then 4 years ago, it changed to 6:30, it was moved back. So,
It changed when the majority of us were self-employed and needed to work more.
Later.
We didn't punch out at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. 2 hours in the afternoon missed work added up to be a considerable amount of sum of money at the end of the year. I know, speaking for myself, though, my schedule has changed drastically. My lifestyle has changed drastically since I've been on the board. But I also know Josh works in Mason City. I think we need to give consideration to that. And if he's comfortably home at 6, that we should respect that, at least for the first year, and let him work just as we've done, just as I have for the first, it's taken me a little longer to get to this time early in the day, but it's taken me this long to rearrange my schedule so that I can meet earlier in the day. So out of respect for that, these are our meetings. This is supposed to be for our convenience, our time. We are volunteers. So I would recommend 6 o'clock.
Thank you, Robin, that was very nice.
I've been there.
6 is fine with me if that works for the 2 new people especially.
And, yeah, we can review it in a year. Let's give it again.
And we will annually review it, and it's always good to have the discussion. Is the time that you've selected still working, or is there another time that might work better for you?
Sure.
And the recommendation is to continue on the second and fourth Mondays. I guess I don't see any reason to change that either. So.
You know, other than
Yeah.
why not throw another day in there for you guys? You know, we could just.
Yep. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we set the regular meetings at 6 PM on the second and fourth Monday of the month.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
So a motion and a second to set the regular meetings at 6 PM on the second and fourth Mondays of the month. Roll call vote, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Freund. Yes. Maycumber,
Yes.
Mack,
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. We will move on to agenda item 17, which is committee appointments for the coming year.
So I took an informal poll last week in Des Moines at a School Administrators of Iowa meeting of superintendents, just to find out who has committees and who doesn't. And I took that poll because the panel that was speaking to us, none of the superintendents in their districts had committees aside from negotiations. Otherwise, they all dealt with whatever issue was facing them, buildings and grounds, finance, policy, what have you. Informally, 50% of the 40 superintendents there said, yes, we have committees, and 50% said, no, we don't. So this is another thing that we revisit kind of on an annual basis, is whether or not you want to continue having committee meetings. A few of them meet very frequently, and others don't meet quite so often. Or would you like to just address topics as a board so that everybody has access to all the information all of the time? So here's the time to have that conversation, and there's no right answer. It's what works for the 5 of you.
So just because I'm new and I want to understand, these board, or these committees that we have, do they have other people besides board members on them?
Typically, yes, they have whatever staff is responsible for basically the subject matter of the committee. So Buildings and Grounds has the Buildings and Grounds director and the superintendent typically, and oftentimes Terry O'Brien will help with all the times there's finance stuff involved in that, so she will help facilitate those meetings and keep track of that stuff. So just like with negotiations, different things, and policy typically falls to the superintendent too. So usually what I would consider to be the subject matter expert from the district is involved in that.
And then that committee would bring a recommendation to the board?
Yep.
No. Committees,
Well,
No.
technically, no.
Technically.
The committees don't have the authority, and that's
Right.
expressed in the agenda as well,
Yep.
so that's a good question to ask. The board can't delegate its decision-making authority to a committee, so the committee doesn't make recommendations. They just end up being experts in
Yeah.
1 or 2 areas instead of all 5 that we have. The recommendations still come from administration.
Yes.
And what
Yeah.
we've done then is we entrust the people that sit on these committees in these seats then to bring our best interest. And when there is things that they're asked for recommendations, our input on, that they're using their best judgment based on our approval for them to go ahead and do that for us.
To have a deeper discussion
Sure.
Yep.
about it.
Sometimes, I haven't been on Buildings and Grounds for a couple of years, but sometimes those meetings last an hour, hour and a half.
And there's also been times when I was on Buildings and Grounds that Lorraine would call, or you would mention it the next time you have a Buildings and Grounds meeting or negotiations meeting or whatever, would you bring this up and consider this too? And you can bring that also to the meeting for discussion at that time. I think it's worked well.
Yeah.
Our board meetings, we've got a lot going on. We've moved from the 5 and 6 hour board meetings. I think this has helped. It also, by adding the committee reports like we do,
Yep.
I think we're covered well. I think if we do away with them, that would be a huge mistake. I think it's a great way for communication to be taking place. Because the information does make its way back into the community that way
Yeah.
too. And
Like-
informed information, not half-informed information. When you sit in these committee meetings, you are totally informed as opposed to just a small synopsis of partial information, so.
But what would you say, the majority of committee meetings, 30 minutes or an hour or less?
Yeah.
Other than buildings and grounds. But buildings and
Negotiations.
grounds the last couple of years was dealing with this. Yeah, negotiations takes longer, but
And some meet more frequently than others.
Correct.
That's all part of the nature of them, so. I prefer there to be, like you said, some of them, like the policy, can be very involved in figuring out all of the stuff that goes along with the annual updates to the policies, the review of the chapter, all that stuff. For all of us to commit time to doing that seems like a lot of involvement, just as with buildings and grounds, being involved in all of that stuff that goes on. Divide and conquer is a pretty effective approach in these. So,
we spend more time reading the policies than we do discussing them, because
yeah.
so many with policies, it's based upon state law or federal law. And a few of them you can tweak to the district, but yeah, the policy meetings don't take nearly as long as reading through several hundred pages each year.
So,
My obligation to at least bring the topic up,
Yep.
let you have it, and again, the only right answer is whatever works for the five of you. So having them or not having them, there isn't a right pick and a wrong pick. It's which way do you want to operate, because it's your board meeting and your board function.
Well, I know, and through the process of building, the buildings and grounds was, I felt very important for the board members, because that became, without saying this right, I was also educated in knowing what was going on. So if I needed to answer the question of a community member or a board member, I had some basis then, and I had some factual answers to give them, as opposed to always just being able to rely on your office for everything.
Sure.
I think we keep the 5 standing committees.
okay, so I think we're in
Then your
agreement.
charge is to decide who will
Fill them
serve
in, yep.
on each of those. And I will point out on the additional appointments needed for the following, on School Improvement Advisory Committee, the charge from the state is to have balanced representation between genders, and we don't with the new members that have been put on, so it would be very helpful if it were 2 of the male board members who are appointed to SiAC to try to help us with that balance.
Okay. We'll start with buildings and grounds. Robin and I had served on that the past 2 years, I think. That's one that I had preferred to stay on with the amount of time and knowledge I've gained in the last couple of years. But I think, Robin, you were okay with swapping out there.
Yes, there's only going to be 2 in there, it's fine.
Yeah, and Scott had shown an interest there.
Yeah, I'd like to be on buildings and grounds again.
Okay, any objection there? No. Scott and myself on buildings and grounds. Communications and public relations, that's a committee that has met maybe once or twice, but we assume we'll meet more often in the future with different plans going on. Lorraine and I had served on that in the past. I'm open to moving off of that. I think,
I'd be happy to step in.
Josh.
And I would be too.
Okay, excellent, Josh and Missy. There. Finance Committee, role of Finance Committee, reviewing the monthly bills and financial record of the district prior to the first meeting of the month, and also that kind of seems to be the committee that also, when we talk about large finance needs, capital projects and things, they tend to get that information and kind of be the subject matter experts on that as well. So Scott and Lorraine had previously served on that.
I'm okay if somebody else wants to jump on there.
So
I'd be interested.
Josh, that would be, okay. Robin, you're not on anything, no, let's see, you were gonna do that one, right? So that was you have an interest there, or
No, in finance,
do you
no.
prefer policy? Okay, so,
No.
no, finance, so,
Honest answer.
Scott? I think you were
Scott and
gonna-
Josh.
Yeah,
Okay.
Scott and Josh. Yeah. Let's see here, negotiations and compensation, Lorraine and Robin had met with that in the past. Take part in the negotiation process, review the recommended increase in salary and benefits for employee groups prior to approval by the board. So, Robin, I know with your experience in that, would be good to continue there.
I'd like to
You're
continue
okay
on
with that, right?
Yes, please.
Josh?
Happy to, yeah.
Okay. Policy Committee, let's see, Scott and I had served on that in the past, and we review current proposed policies prior to approval or renewal by the board. I know Missy had a good experience when you were off the board with that, so you'd be okay with serving there.
Yep.
And Robin, is that the one you would?
I will go ahead
Okay,
and go back to
alright.
policy committee also, please.
Excellent. SiAC, see, we stated that we need 2 male members here, I guess.
Preferably.
Preferably, I would certainly be willing to take that. If you have 3 now, do you, or
Yes,
did
it
you?
does.
You have,
I'll go to that.
unless you really preferred to, but
Whatever works the best.
let's see here.
Yeah, probably with Jason.
3, yeah, I
yes,
better,
if you
yeah,
would.
Scott and I can handle that one. That's a pretty, 4 meetings a year, I think, is that right?
Yeah, 4 or
4 or
5.
5, okay. Delegate to the Iowa Association of School Boards Delegate Assembly, same thing like negotiations. Robin, you've been there, that knowledge helps
Mhm.
remain,
You finally figured out what's
Yeah.
going on with that, right?
I know how to use the clicker now, yeah.
yeah. So that- Perfect.
It is a complicated meeting if you are new to the process, and I do feel like for the last 2 years, particularly last year, that understanding, when I go to change, what will happen is somebody will accompany me, and then for a year, and then I will accompany them for the first year, because I see additional boards doing
Yeah.
that, and that makes sense then.
And this
So that
occurs
was-
annually at the
Yes,
state
at the
convention, right?
convention.
Yeah.
Mhm. So you're not just walking in there
Yep.
alone.
Blind.
Excellent.
Okay.
County Conference Board Representative, I had said that I would take that. It's one that doesn't meet too frequently and not too much of a time commitment, so.
Can I just mention one thing also too, since with Missy and Josh? What we do with these committees, if for some reason you can't make it.
Yeah.
Kids have a dentist appointment, you have a
Yeah.
meeting, you can't make the meeting, then you can call up one of your fellow board members and they can take your place.
Yeah, fill in.
Yeah,
so.
and fill in. So it's not like you're, even with any of these, like the SiAC committee or something like that, if it doesn't fall into place, all 3 of you can share that responsibility with, just as long as we have 2 board members there.
There was a time last winter where, on one occasion with negotiations, that Lorraine was gone early in the afternoon when negotiations started, and she came back and Robin left. So I took both their places during different parts of a 4-hour session. So, yeah, it's doable.
Just kind of
You
fill
just
in.
Fill in and let somebody know that you need the night off or the morning off.
I think that covers all of them. Is there a motion to approve the agreed-upon appointments to the standing committees?
I'll make a motion to approve as decided upon.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded to approve the standing committee appointments as agreed upon. Roll call vote, please.
Freund,
Yes.
Maycumber,
Yes.
Mack,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Move on to agenda item 18, levels 1 and 2 investigator for allegations of abuse of students by school staff. Dr. Cox,
Recommend that Marcia DeVore be named as the level 1 investigator.
do we have a motion?
I move to appoint Marcia DeVore.
And a second.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to appoint Marcia DeVore as the district's level 1 and 2 investigator for 2017-18. Roll call vote, please.
Maycumber,
Yes.
Mack,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Freund. Yes. Dyke.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Move on to agenda item 19, to the regular meeting portion.
Yes. So we are excited. We have our friends from Germany here. I see Mrs. Butcher, and she has at least one guest, potentially a couple of others. She has at least one guest with her tonight. So if you would come to the microphone on this far side and bring your guest with you.
Yes, Marilyn Butcher. Originally, I needed to ask permission to have a fundraiser that was not listed on the calendar. And the reason why it was not listed there was because a business person and one of our parents were discussing, just at the business Gap, and the businesswoman said, "Oh, would you like to have a bake sale or something here?" And I'm going, when they told me this, I thought, oh, well, that's nice, because that means that the community is reaching out to us and really wants to do this and wants to help. So I was rather pleased about that, but I said, I need to get permission first. So they talked about having two, in fact, one right before Halloween, and the other the first weekend, 2 days in December. So it would be right before Christmas, and then we'll see how it goes. So do you have questions for me? Don't know if I have much.
Actually, your agenda item is to introduce GAP students.
Oh,
And if you don't have any GAP students here, talk about the GAP students who have come. And
okay. I do have the male teacher
Awesome.
with me. And this is Sebastian Bleischwitz. He is a third year teacher? Second year. Yes, second year teacher. Teaches English and history. Yes? Yes. And fifth grade and
Up to 13, so
this year, fifth grade and,
like all of them.
okay, they can teach from 5 to 13. And they'll be going back to 13 in 2 years. So I will just let
Just have-
him come,
Yeah.
and he's only been here in Charles City since Saturday. They arrived in Minneapolis, stayed in Minneapolis overnight, thank goodness, because it was homecoming, that would have been a little bit difficult. So that was very nice, and they saw Minneapolis for a day. Then came here yesterday. We had the welcoming at St. Ansgar, where they have 8 students, and we have 10 here. And today was their first day in school, but they didn't really have classes or anything like that. They orient to the school. Then we had the scavenger hunt downtown, so they kind of oriented to the town. And the businesses really enjoy having them come in, knowing that they're here. And we saw a couple of people who had been hosts in the past. So Sebastian got to meet a couple of people, and I think it's going to be a very positive exchange, of course.
Good evening. I was already introduced. My name is Sebastian Bleischwitz. I'm a German teacher, from Germany. I teach English and history since about 2 years. And I would like to say thank you to all of you, to the whole community, for this really, really warm welcome. I'm here with 10 students in total. 8 are in St. Ansgar with one of my colleagues, and I'm here with 10 students. And they were really looking forward for the exchange, for about 10 months in advance. And we've also did this fundraising thing. Our students sold cookies, beverages, waffles, all this stuff, and they made over 4,000 euros, which are about $4,500 in just 9 months. And I think it's pretty important to keep this program going, to keep on supporting it. And that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How long will they be here? When you guys came Saturday, how long?
They will leave Charles City on the 17th, go to Chicago for 3 days, leave there on the 21st. But from the 9th to the 13th, they will be in South Dakota. So they get to see a little bit more of the United States. Actually, I think they do study the American West, Indian culture. So that's been a trip that they've really enjoyed taking for a number of years, actually. Yes.
Good. Any other questions, comments from Ms. Butcher?
Hey, Joy.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you so much for coming.
Enjoy your time
Enjoy your
here.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to agenda item number 20, the athletic complex design and fundraising. We have some folks here to report on how that's been going.
We'll start with our AD, Todd Forsyth, and then he can introduce other people who may speak.
we started this task force last June, and have spent about 4 months analyzing, preparing, and I would just like to say that the task force, in my opinion, has done an unbelievable job at this point, and I would like to name them out, the people that have participated in this to this point. Vincent Jenny Hegel, Craig Anderson, Kurt Herbigsmeyer, Eric Miller, Bill Feller, Dan Hageman, Tyler Downing, Jason Walker, Jeremy Hyatt, and Larry Wolf. So we've met several times to try to figure out what concepts and what do we need as a school that would benefit our students to the best possible situation, how we can develop the property that you guys have purchased. So at this time, we went on site visits, and Vince and Jenny Hegel are going to walk you through the places we went and what we saw.
Excellent.
Well, first of all, thank you for time on the agenda. There were 5 of us, Mr. Forsyth, Coach Downing, Jeremy Heyer, and the 2 of us, who on August 9th went to 3 different sites, Independence and Linn-Mar in Cedar Rapids and Wartburg. These were all 3 different sites. Independence is a brand new baseball, softball facility, and that was like 1.75 million. Linn-Mar was a little bigger, 4 million. That was also brand new baseball, softball. And then we stopped at Wartburg and checked out the baseball field there. So we had 2 of the sites had artificial turf, and Linn-Mar had grass. And so basically we looked at dugouts and seating for fans and the baseball facilities. So we're going to go through pictures that from each site.
Okay, we're going to start in Independence, and I'm going to go through these kind of quickly, so, okay. This is the entrance to Independence. This is the softball bleachers with the netting behind it. Baseball bleachers with the screen behind it. This is a surrounding fence that run around the facility. This is called the admission stand, or where you would buy your tickets, and it's the back of it. This is the softball field. This is on the left, that kind of brickish looking building is the concession stand. There's batting cages and the back of the baseball dugout. These are the bleachers. This is baseball. 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 This is the concession stand with restrooms around to the back. The concession stand had a window on the front that they used for sales, and then the 2 side windows were just more for viewing, and you could airflow, that type of thing. These are the batting cages. This is the baseball dugout with a 4-foot fence. That shows the top of the baseball dugout. Batting cage. Baseball infield with a dirt mound. Baseball. Did I do that right? Baseball. Okay. 3-foot brick wall behind the baseball, like the home plate. Am I off? No? Okay. Oh, let me go back this one. So, sorry. Softball dugout with a high fence. That's the dugout for softball. This is the interior of the dugout. Same thing. There was one exit going into the dugout and out. There's more of the dugout. Softball, the back of the softball. This is the scoreboard. That shows the screening behind or the netting in softball. They used Musco lights. Softball looking to the outfield. More of the same, softball looking to the outfield. Same thing. And the batting cages.
I would say that the Independence facility showed really good. It had a nice the fence around it. It had, the two diamonds were fairly close together. So then we went to Lindmar, the entrance there. This is a bigger facility. They took their baseball field and they patterned it after the baseball diamond in Des Moines where the state tournament is played. So they got exact measurements from that. And this is their concession, restrooms, meeting room, locker room. It was a pretty good sized building. This is back of the dugout. That's a little different than the other one. This is a brick or a block with holes in the sides. Then the batting cages. This is the baseball field. And the next two are both the outfield. If you notice, this is real grass. It was really nice. Kind of like a golf course almost, a green on the golf course. They had special turf management people that took care of their grass. It was very, very nice. Yeah, this is the first base dugout with the little press box in the background. And bleachers, of course. And this is looking right field to home plate. And then that's the concession stand again. That was close to the baseball field, but a little bit further away from the softball. The right field, 326, 406 center, 326 to the left. This is a view of center field. The first base dugout here, now this has the higher fence. The Independence had about a 4-foot fence. This is probably 8. And they have nice entrance on both sides of the dugout, which was a better design. And that's the interior. A nice cubby holes. This is the press box. And then this is showing the netting on the wall that's behind like home plate. It runs from like the dugout to the other dugout all behind home plate. That's a view from home plate to the outfield. Another one. Third base dugout. The batting cages. If you look here, those are all ventilation holes in the dugout. And handicap accessible. We had very nice bleachers. The one thing that we noticed about bleachers in both places that there were blind spots to certain parts of the field, like left field, right field, maybe. Maybe the dugouts are too high. Maybe the bleachers weren't high enough, but there were some blind spots. More bleachers. Same. And the dugout from a distance. Now, they did have some problems. When they built it, they had the mound as the high point, and the water would slope back to home plate or slope off to either dugout, so they had to redo part of that for drainage. And there's added wall. And then this is the softball diamond. And that was all 200 feet to the outfield. That was very similar, except just a smaller piece of ground. That's left field. And the infield again with the dugout. And they had nice cubbies and hooks in their dugouts. the bullpen. There's the softball outfield. And this is a view from the bleachers. And the bullpen.
Okay? Okay, next we went to Wartburg in Waverly. This is the practice area. They had 3 batting cages and a bunting area. Yeah, this is the practice, okay, excuse me. There's a bullpen, okay. Their dugouts are all open with no netting or screening, anything like that. This is right field. Third base to home. Right field again. First base, the background is a new building. Third base. Pitcher to home. Looking in from third base and looking out from third base. No, excuse me, looking out from home.
Now, on recap, we found that they were all very nice looking, if you know, the first look at them. They all had high netting behind home plate as opposed to chain link fence. At Wartburg, the turf has been down 4 to 5 years. There's somewhere on it on mound and in the batting cage or in the batter's box and a little bit around first base. Otherwise, it looks pretty much brand new. Even the base paths there are artificial turf and they really don't show much wear of any. The differences in the fields would be in the turf, grass, the fencing in front of the dugouts, and the style of the dugouts. Independence had very nice dugouts. So we just kind of, we learned that different people like different things. Because Cedar Rapids, for instance, was, they were sold on real grass.
Really?
So,
But they also have the maintenance people to keep it up. That was very important, like daily.
so, anything else?
No?
So we had a good day.
Yeah.
Looks like it.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions on our site visits? We went into, as a group, went in and took that site visit information to try to come up with a concept. And I'm going to let Jeremy Heyer talk about the concept design and some cost structures that we looked at.
Yeah, that was a long day. That was lots of information, and yeah, it's kind of like Christmas. You know, what do you put in? What Todd and Tyler have are samples of field turf. It's the new materials. It's technology always changes from our smartphones to whatever, but field turf's the exact same. It's like not the AstroTurf from the 1980s. It's almost like real grass, and playability feels like grass. Player safety is phenomenal because it's spongy. You're not going to fewer concussions and such. So it's really, football's transitioning that way for football fields, but now playing surfaces for baseball and softball as well. So we did have some information being drawn up, and this was prepared back in April from Alex Schlater. Just some estimated costs on what, if you go with field turf versus grass, and just different options, and how much is this going to cost, potentially could it cost. And then we started talking to a firm, Mid-America Sports Construction. They're out of Kansas City. So they've done numerous, I think that's all in your board packets. It's this brochure. So they've done all these collegiate fields from Dwayne Banks Field at the University of Iowa and multiple fields. They're experts in it. 9 construction crews and 2 different turf teams. So as the group, as we've talked, that's what we've settled on for baseball, is we would like to pursue that, that turf infield for baseball. Cost-wise in that, artificial turf, that infield, you're looking at about $110,000 for that. And then it's a matter of, do you sod the outfield, do you seed the infield? What do you do? How fast do we want to play on it? That's really a decision making there. Had more conversations about even the softball field. So you're always going to play on dirt for the infield, but then what do you do with the outfield? Forest City has a turf outfield. Now that's Forest City and Wartburg. They use the same softball field. Softball field's smaller, so 180 to the fence instead of, 400. So there's a lot less area. And Mid-American Sports Construction said there's some volume discounts the more turf you buy, the cheaper it gets. And do we have that number? We don't yet, but it's about, I think the number they shot us was $7.50 a square foot. So that number we'd expect to go down. But a lot of the costs come in, like let's see, fencing, like for baseball is $55,000. Lighting's $180,000, bleachers $150,000. It's amazing how that starts to become more than the actual playing field itself. So you want fans to come, you want people to see, and that's some of the things that we really looked at was, if you got an obstructed view, if you can't see anything when you go, you're not going to go and support the team. So leverage Larry Wolf with his expertise with many ball fields as well. So where do you position dugouts and how do you open up those sight lines as well? So with Mid-American Sports Construction, they were up 2 weeks ago. Todd took Christian out to the site and just surveyed it. We have done soil samples, or started that process, going to be. That is something that they need before they can pursue field turf. What is that sub base? Is it suitable for that? Is there more work that would have to be done? Yeah, they are the experts in field turf. They did say there's, and this is something we will have to decide how fast we want to pursue this. Our conversation throughout this was that fundraising would be going from now through the end of the year, and then we'd be constructing throughout next year and letting seed take root, and we'd be playing on it in 2019. Mid-America says, well, from the day we drive in on that driveway, you'll be playing on it in 6 to 8 weeks. So that's if you go with sod in the outfield and everything, you can get it up and going faster. So potentially, we could be playing on it next year, or for part of the season, if it's not ready right away.
I know we talked in the meetings a lot about those options. We've got options as to what does it cost for gravel parking lot versus concrete parking lot, what does it cost for sod versus artificial, all of those things. And I know that the next line here kind of hits on bringing that together. At the end, what can we afford, and what are the targets going to be for the capital fund drive stuff. So,
right.
But it was really nice to see laid out kind of a menu of options, and we can get maybe copies of that distributed to the board too.
It would be nice if we could see some of those figures. We don't have anything to look at.
Yep. Yeah. So if we can get those, for the future here, we get some copies made of the options and things, and then maybe hit on the capital fund stuff too.
Yeah, Mid-American, their company, they provided us some information. I think it was Friday that information came over, an estimate of $1.1 million.
Okay.
But that'd be.
Do you have the sod numbers, what the difference for the seeding would be then?
Well, and these are from Alex. So like the difference between, let's see, sodding the outfield was about $50,000. That's the baseball field. Hydraulic seeding is $5,000. So that's $45,000 difference, but it's a matter of hydraulic seeding, and then you'll play on it the next year. It's just a matter of time. How important is it to get out there and get playing on it?
So I just have a couple questions, real brief.
Yeah.
One is, do we know the durability difference between the AstroTurf or the pseudograss, I don't know what the correct terminology is, versus that and regular grass?
Well, that's a great question. So you have maintenance costs with grass, obviously,
Right.
because you're
Yep, gotta cut it,
cutting,
you gotta fix it.
you gotta fix it, patch it wherever things are worn out, there's disease. Irrigation is going to be a consideration out at that site. It is very sandy soil. Without even having soil samples, that's just a known fact.
We know that.
Right.
So it's gonna drain well, so that's good from what we have now.
Right.
But now you have to apply water consistently and all the time to keep that going. So from the softball side of things, you wouldn't have to irrigate if we went the dirt infield and then the field turf outfield. You don't have to irrigate anything. Now baseball is a significantly larger area. But now life expectancy, that turf, it's not no maintenance, it's less maintenance. They project 12 years, I believe it is, for life expectancy, but probably plan for 10 to replace it. And it just peels off and you put it back down. So a lot of the structure, the curbing, there's concrete curbing that goes around it. That's what it attaches to. It's kind of like when you lay carpet in your home. There's that tack strip that all the way around, it gets stretched out and held on.
That amount would be nice to know what that is too, because obviously that'll have to become a planned,
Budget, yeah.
a budgeted
Planned
issue.
expense.
Then that would
Right,
have to
so
be
we're
handled.
not just
Right.
talking about the one-time.
One
cost,
time,
we're
yeah.
talking about the
Yep.
ongoing
Yep.
maintenance
Yep.
costs that need to be figured into.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you did the site visit, did you have any opportunity to hear whether people like playing on the fake grass? I know that's not the right term, but versus real grass, if they said, we really like this better, we feel it's better to play on, or no, we like it the other way?
No, I'm going to touch on the Waverly coach. So
Yeah.
he took us on the tour at Wartburg, and that
Right.
was something Tyler specifically asked him is, do you feel you're at a disadvantage within the conference? Because everybody else is playing on grass, and they're playing at Wartburg on the field turf.
Right.
He said it gives them an advantage because they're a better defensive ball club because they're playing on that surface. The balls are a little faster, but he feels it's that much better.
So he feels he has an advantage.
Right. Now, it's also from the standpoint, so it's raining, we've had a huge rainstorm, you can get on it and play right away.
Give everybody a leaf blower and dry it up.
Thank you.
One of the, talking to a couple different college coaches, from softball and baseball, and they advocate for the field turf as well, because you can just, it's kind of like an all-weather track, you can just push snow off of it and go.
So in this brochure, it should look like the University of Iowa, Iowa State, UNI, all the region institutions have that. Wartburg, Waverly, or what's the fourth city, sorry?
Waldorf.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Waldorf has it as well?
Yes.
So all the four-year institutions seem to have this as well?
Right,
Great.
right. And so thinking of, Independence, obviously it's a high school, and
Right.
then, but their baseball facility, they do rent that out to some other colleges. So, was it D3s that were coming in, renting it, and there are also some club teams. So when they're not in season, they're also renting it out, and that's some income coming into the district to help. They're using it as like a sinking fund to pay for turf replacement down the road.
Sure.
So it is more work, it is more kids on it, there's more cleats on it, so it is breaking it down faster, but
Yeah, there's always another side to what you think is a good
Right.
idea until
Right.
you realize you're suddenly have gone from 12 years to 6 years on what you thought was going to wear
Yeah.
out twice as fast. It would be interesting to put the numbers to the natural and know what, I know it's going to be hard to measure, but there's got to be a way for us to put, I'm just thinking of public inquiry so we can give them a balance, because we are going to be saving, with turf, you're saving man hours for maintenance, you're saving water costs. And all that needs to be figured in when we present a cost of turf, which is going to be considerably more than a
Absolutely.
seeding project.
Right.
So we're going to have those numbers so that we can convince the public that what we are doing is investment in the future, and it's going to pay off in the long run, and why we're doing it. It's not just because we're starry-eyed looking at, we want what the colleges have in
Exactly.
Charles City.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that's, and the committee is seeing that, the numbers are there. Do we have that quantified? We don't.
Okay.
So it's not a presentable form, but it's,
Those are the questions we get for sure, you know.
Absolutely.
And the whys.
and yeah, if it doesn't make sense, then you don't do it. It's not a, hey, I just want this. It's,
I can get from
has
point
make
A to
sense.
point B in my Xbox just as well as I can in a brand-new Cadillac, so I guess I'll
Right.
stick with the box.
Let's move on to the capital fund drive stuff. What,
Thank you.
yes, thanks.
Thank
Jeremy.
you.
Jeremy.
A lot of numbers are being thrown out. And when you talk about turf, replacement of turf, just something to point out, the pitcher's mound, actually, you can tear up the turf and turn it. So when it wears, you turn it. Same with home plate, same with first base. So the wear spots are easily maintained.
If I get double-sided, so you can just flip it.
Yeah. Turf specialists, Linmar had turf specialists, and they had 2 certified guys. And they're,
There's 3 people on staff that don't leave that conference.
they're working on it. I mean, in August,
Yeah.
September, October, they're working on it year round. And I don't know, I can't remember where this number came from. They threw out a number of $22,000 to $30,000 to have a turf specialist
Yeah.
available for them. So a lot of costs. So I understand we need the numbers, but I really think this committee understands we have limited capital, and how we can best use that capital to get us 2 fields as soon as possible is what we're really shooting for. And I'm going to have Kurt Herbertsmeyer talk a little bit that we have to come up with the money. We understand that. So I'll let Kurt hit on that a second.
Yeah, the fun part, right? It's all fun and games until somebody's got to pay the bill, right? The last estimate we had was for about $1.1 million just to build the ball diamonds. Dan Hageman and I met a couple times to try to figure out where and how we would raise the dollars to make this happen. Obviously, the total bill that we're trying to raise isn't just to construct the 2 ball diamonds, but ideally we'd like to add on the bleachers and the parking lot and the concession stand and all of those things at the very least long term. But the immediate concern is obviously building 2 ball diamonds the way we would like them constructed, the way the coach would like to play on them, and have something more than what we have today. So our job was to really fill in the blank at the end, the total cost obviously driving that whole thing. But with the $1.1 million estimate to get the 2 ball diamonds constructed, we came up with a scheme to raise approximately $300,000 minimum per field. That's baseball field, softball field. We felt that there was public support out there between corporate and individual donors. But I think we recognize that each of these fields is going to probably require at least one fairly large donation. We felt that the corporate donations would probably raise about half of what we need, but we think that we're going to have to beat the bushes a little bit to find some interested parties who really want to see this project happen. Obviously, like I said at the beginning, to get the bleachers, to get the dugouts the way we'd like them to be, to add the concession stand and those things long term, we would be raising additional funds. But I think our goal at the beginning was truly just to construct 2 playable fields so we can get started. We felt that the interest in bleachers would come as soon as people had to sit in lawn chairs and look over each other's shoulders. We'd like to have the bleachers, we'd like to have everything concrete, we'd like to have a plaza and a nice entrance, but the first thing was to just get the ball diamonds constructed.
And that's basically the approach they took in other places, right? Independence was that way, and yeah.
A multi-year approach, phase
Well-
things in as the money comes.
However long it takes, I guess, is the way we would approach it. Sure, we'd love to see the money get completely raised here so that when spring comes, we're moving dirt, and we know we're going to have a ball field in a finite period of time, but it is going to take some time. This is a tough time of year to compete for money. You know, there are a lot of other organizations out looking for funds just as we are. So, plus I think this is going to be a little bit more of a specialized audience, I guess I'll say. You've got fans, you've got ex-players, you've got a lot of different people. You don't really know who's going to come through on this. So we're not sure exactly who to ask. I think it's going to be very important that we get this out very publicly about our need and especially what the design will be when it's constructed to generate some enthusiasm for the project. It's going to hinge on that.
In Independence, did they do any gifts in kind? I know they had done so with their high school, their middle school. Did they do so with this field also?
We would hope that there would be some in-kind donations through the bidding process. If there's somebody local who wants to participate, it would go through a general contractor, and that's how they would do that.
We had talked a little bit about recognition and different things in a scheme of that. Is that something that you guys have kind of still formulating, working on? Is that
we have penciled in some numbers for recognition, understanding that that's probably going to be part of the equation.
Yep.
Yes.
So from us tonight, you know, we're looking for, you know, the board to kind of just approve and confirm that, you know, we approve of what you guys are doing and moving forward with kicking off the capital fund drive. Is that kind of where we're looking? Yeah.
I'll let Todd answer that.
What do you want, Todd? Well, first of all, I'll remind the school board, you said matching funds up to $500,000. So publicly, that's a great start for us to get where we need to go. I would like to say publicly, we've also had our first donation anonymously in Logan Luff's name for $5,000. So was a great way to start our kickoff for this project. We had to get soil borings going to try to keep this moving. The Booster Club stepped up to the plate, and they put $6,000 towards that. So we have things in process and in place. So I think our next steps will probably be conceptually, we got to get a drawing put together and get specs put together that we can bring to the buildings and grounds, and probably need to meet with the buildings and grounds people in our committee so we can make some adjustments there as needed when we get more detailed on our expenses. The other thing we probably need to do is meet with the finance committee to talk about our capital fund drive and making sure it's going the direction and follows the purpose of what the school district wants. So there's real meetings coming up real soon. We're still trying to get details, get some maps together and stuff for engineers, and yeah.
Awesome.
It's September.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to point out, you know, my appreciation for and publicly thank the private citizens who've chosen to commit the time to this. I mean, we've met multiple times. It shows the community that we've really got some good support. It's not just the school district out there begging for money. It's nice to see an interest by you know, the community essentially, and you know, we certainly thank you guys for your time working on this now and going forward. So,
All right.
move on then. No action tonight,
There,
or would you prefer?
what else?
Yeah, we don't have you don't have a capital fund drive plan to present to us, correct?
I think it needs to be more detailed probably
Okay.
before we're ready to do that.
Yeah.
So
Sure, okay.
Excellent.
hopefully at the next board meeting, we'll have something in detail.
Okay.
That was great.
Yep.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate your time. We'll move on to agenda item number 21, the soccer update.
Many things have been happening with soccer, and I'll just go through the list of things that we have completed and things we have yet to do. We have hired Brad McKenzie as our head coach. On your agenda tonight, I believe we have an assistant coach to be approved, so that's very good. We have a person who assigns officials for soccer games. He has taken on our task along with most of the schools in North Iowa, and he will assign 2 to 3 officials per game on our schedule. Our schedule currently is made up of 13 games. A normal schedule would probably be about 15 to 18 games. We're looking to add 1 or 2 more games. But now we're down to the last few games to add right now and to get them in the right date, so we're not playing 4 times in 1 week. There's a couple more games I hope to get scheduled. Coach McKenzie had his first team meeting. He had 30-plus people there, so should be enough for a JV and varsity squad. It will be co-ed the first year, and then we'll reevaluate for next year to see if we want to expand the program or what we need, where we need to go with it. The soccer kids were very excited to be in the homecoming parade. That was their first kind of public appearance, so that was pretty neat that they were able to do that. Coach McKenzie have scheduled open gyms for the winter, so they got facilities, indoor facilities that they can start kicking the ball around a little bit. Our facilities where we're going to play is the college grounds. I would say it's not ideal, but it's adequate. Jerry Mitchell and Buildings and Grounds crew have worked, added some fill in one area. We have some trees to trim. We have to take one small area of cement out for safety purposes. It's too close to the field. We'd probably need to look at some type of inexpensive scoreboard. I don't want to look at anything too brilliant until we find out if that's going to be a permanent place, or are we going to look at moving soccer to the new athletic complex, or what's the vision? And I'm not sure what that vision is at this point, but we'll have portable bleachers, hopefully out of the old middle school, that we can use out there. We have a portable sound system that we can use, so we're making progress. Equipment that's been purchased, the goals for one field were $5,000, which we have purchased and are in storage at this point. We have soccer balls, cones, corner flags that all been purchased. Right now, we're working on the process of getting bid on uniforms. So in a quick nutshell, that's everything that's been happening with the soccer program. It's moving along. Kids are excited. I think we're going to have enough for a JV and a varsity team. Schedule is working out pretty good, not too bad yet. Coach McKenzie wants a few more games, and I'm going to keep trying, but again, I got to try to fit them in the schedule where they can benefit us, not hurt us. So.
Excellent.
Sounds like you're doing great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's excellent to hear the participation already, good numbers.
Yeah.
So like we had thought going into it, so. Excellent, thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
We'll move on to agenda item 22, the athletic complex transfer resolution.
I move to approve the athletic field complex transfer resolution as presented.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to approve the athletic field complex transfer resolution as presented. Is there any discussion or questions? We will have a roll call vote, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Groin,
Yes.
Maycumber.
Yes.
Mack,
Yes.
Dyke.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Agenda item 23, request for release from teaching contract. Dr. Cox.
I laid it out on the agenda, but I'll also read a brief letter from Tammy Howell. It says, I'm writing to inform the school that I will be resigning my position as an elementary teacher. I believe I've been called to work in a full-time ministry with my church. I've enjoyed teaching in the Charles City Community School District. It has been both a rewarding and memorable experience. I've always given students 100% of my knowledge and attention to help them excel in their education. In my 27 years of teaching, I've also learned much about myself. I realized that I made a great choice when I became an elementary teacher, and an even better choice when I accepted the position in Charles City. She had worked 6 years in another district before coming to us. She continues, it's been an invaluable experience. With great dismay, I must give my resignation letter, and with much respect, I've appreciated the opportunity that was given to me. Best regards, Tammy Howell.
I have to say, she was the second grade teacher for my oldest boy, Bryce, and he absolutely loved her, so I was sad to see this come across. I know that she's pursuing an opportunity in her best